So the question that would be in your mind, what is an actuary? An actuary is a financial risk manager. Big terms, what does it mean at the end of the day? So those of you who have some mathematics background, you would have studied probability and stats. So the origin of actuarial profession is in probability and mathematics. Based on the historical data, we project the future. And of course, future is not known to anybody with certainty except Allah. We come up with scenarios, we come up with a distribution of that future. Where is the use of actuaries? Traditionally, actuaries have been heavily used in the insurance field. However, over the period of time, they have diversified into many other fields. Banking is one. Those of you somebody mentioned technology. So today data is a big thing, and actuaries are, as I mentioned, they look at the historical data and they project the future. So looking at the trends, what happens on social media, this is all data for us. What happens at a hospital that Salim Bhai works at, the history, and then we project that into future. A very recent example is COVID. Despite there had been no news of COVID, say in 2019, we were already making projections for a pandemic to hit UK, other parts of the world, and the impact of that. What do we do via those projections? We make sure that when such a calamity hits, the financial system does not go down the drain. So we ensure the stability of the financial system. Take the example at a more granular level. All of you have car insurance. The premium for that car insurance is calculated by actuaries because that has got a probability associated with it. We do not know whether you will have an accident, but we can predict how many accidents will be taking place in the next 1 year, for instance, on the back of probability and stats, and further studies that we call as actuarial science. How do you become an actuary? So what you must have is a very strong mathematical background. If you hate maths, please do not come to this field. Why I say so? Not to disappoint anybody, because this profession has remained as the top profession in the world for many years. It is not anymore. I think in the last ranking it was at number 9 or number 10th. It has remained as the top profession because it has attracted one of the best talents. Even despite attracting that best talent, the global rate of becoming an actuary is less than 50%. So you get the best talent, but I can tell you that 50% of those will not qualify as an actuary. Is it something to be that should lower your morale? No. Those who do not qualify, they are still very useful because they have developed that knack of projections and those actuarial skills. So the point is, you ought to have a strong mathematical background. What do you do for your GCSEs and A-levels? You take maths and, if possible, further maths. Further maths is not necessary, but you must take mathematics. Once you have done your A-levels, you go into one of the unis who either offer a degree in mathematics or actuarial science. A large number of unis are offering degree in actuarial science. You take your degree, and the best way is to start taking professional exams while you are taking while you're doing your degree. What are these professional exams? But generally, once you have done the degree, everything is done and dusted. For us, to become an actuary, you reach point zero after doing your degree. because after that you have to do professional exams, and being in the UK, you take exams of the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries. There are two primary bodies in the world. One is the British, the other one is the American. Being in the UK, you're most likely to take exams of the British body. There are 15 exams. You have to take 15 exams to qualify as an actuary after you have graduated as an actuarial science graduate or a mathematics graduate. What many students do while they're doing their degree, they start taking exams, which helps them a lot in their journey. It increases the speed, because ask many of those who are in the professional life right now, you think that once you have got the degree, you are done with studies. Bringing that energy back to study for another 5, 6, 7 years, that's the average that takes to become an actuary after your graduation. It requires a lot of courage, conviction from the individual. So you become a graduate in actuarial science, and then you take professional exams of the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries, 15 exams to become an actuary. Why should you invest so much in your career? Well, you did your graduation in other fields. You do your graduation and you start your job. With the actuarial science, the moment you do your graduation, you do start your job. The exams that you do while you are on job. So literally you are studying after coming back from work. So I remember my study days when we would start studying at 7 in the evening after coming back from work, and we would study till 5 in the morning. Won't sleep. Yeah. Why work so hard? What's the reward? A fully qualified actuary, talking about somebody who is 23, 24, you have graduated around 6, 7 years. So 28, 29, you do qualify as an actuary. Starting salary is 90 grand right now. Yeah, and then it simply goes up with the experience. Actuaries are diversifying very rapidly into different professions, different topics, different themes. Climate change, those of you who are involved in that topic, actuaries are getting involved because UK government has announced, I think, 2050 as a zero carbon year for the British economy. Saudi government, they have announced 2050 as a carbon neutral, and 2060 as a zero carbon, which is a big announcement from a Saudi economy, which is all based on, well, there are lots of greenhouse gas emissions, if I can say so. So a lot is happening, and because it all requires projections, you're talking about 2% increase in the temperature of the planet, what impact it will have on glaciers, ice melting, sea levels rising. Nobody knows. Who knows what happens in 2035? However, our studies tell us how to project, and project not just what will happen, but the financial impact of that, so that governments can plan for it. British government is one of the most proactive governments who is looking into climate change. Mark Carney, the ex-governor of the Bank of England, he is now the UN representative on this topic as well, because he was very proactive in on this topic while he was the governor of the Bank of England. So, in a nutshell, very attractive field. However, it requires a lot of determination and lot of effort, a lot of, I would say, not getting detracked because of what is happening around us. I remember my days when my friends will call me, we are going for a picnic. We are going out for an outing just for one night. Saying no to your friends, because the pressure from parents is not the biggest pressure. It's the peer pressure which is the biggest pressure. And I know, well, they are having great fun. And now I'm confined to my study room and studying over the weekend. How the weekends used to be, because the slogan here is that you work for the weekend, right? Our weekend used to be, we would get at 9 in the morning in the library, and we will leave the library at 10 or 11 in the evening. So entire, even हम उर्दू में कहते हैं हमने तो अपनी जवानी बर्बाद कर दी पढ़ाई के पीछे. We spoiled our youth after this study. And a very lucrative profession, but for somebody who is determined, who has a good mathematical knack, and it's equally good for males and females. Interestingly, the current president designate of the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries is a lady, Kalpana Shah. There is a huge talk of diversity. She is, from the name you can understand that she is not from the white British background. She's from Bristol, from an Indian, most probably Hindu family as well. But this is the beauty of this profession. There's a lot of emphasis on diversity and inclusion. We have got a slogan, not of the actual profession, but my previous company, I used to work here for one of the big four firms, and their slogan was, diversity is a fact, inclusion is a choice. So we are different. Yeah. So many of you, mashallah, have got beard. I don't have a beard. Salim Bhai always pulls me for that. But at the same time, once you go out, you have got neighbors which are Hindus, Jews, British, Christians. Inclusion, working together with them, is your choice. You can't change the fact that we are all different. So there is a lot of emphasis within the profession as well to make sure that there are people from every background, irrespective of being Muslim, being female, or being male. That is all working very well for the profession. I'm here in the UK to attend a conference, annual conference of actuaries, which took place in Liverpool. There were around 1,000 delegates from across the globe, because just like I'm working abroad, there are other actuaries who are also working abroad. But because of the the depth of technical discussion that take place at this annual conference, everybody just makes his or her best to attend this conference. So that's an overview of the profession. I'm happy to respond to any questions.
Very, very clear. I think, yes, please. Yes.
Just a clarification in terms of where people can go after qualifying actuary, obtaining the actuary qualification. Can they only work in financial services industry, i.e. banks or insurance companies, or have they got other avenues?
So I will take this question even further, because I said that traditionally actuaries have worked in the insurance and now they're moving into banking. The first question that you would have in your minds while sitting in a mosque, well, maybe it's haram, right? So because insurance, there are lots of issues around insurance. So just like mortgage, that you have got Sharia compliant mortgage, but you also have traditional mortgage, in the same manner you have got an Islamic version of insurance as well, which is called takaful, or which is in the Malaysia and the Far East and a bit in Pakistan as well, and the cooperative model, which is the one which we work on in Saudi Arabia, for instance. So yes, they do work in insurance as well. Instead of working in insurance company for instance, I used to work here at a consultant, one of the big fours, as I mentioned. Banking is another field. Now taking it wider, because you develop an expertise of understanding the number in a way that probably other professions do not have, you can be deployed in many other fields. Any field which requires financial projections, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Literally, we project for 70, 80 years as well. And anybody who knows about 70, 80 years, but we do because of our studies. So climate change, I mentioned, is an area where actuaries are getting heavily involved. Another thing where actuaries are working, another profession that actuaries are working very closely with, and I happen to have my own experience, are data scientists. Many of you would have heard about data science. Very interesting. I myself did a certificate course from University of Southampton recently. Amazing insight that you can get from data. I have previously worked with data scientists as well. Data scientists, if any of you is doing Python, you know how powerful that language is. And that can allow you process data, but actuaries are able to make sense of that data. For instance, Facebook. So how come you click on one thing and then you see that things are popping up in your various other, whatever is linked to Facebook, the same thing is popping up. These are all algorithms. Algorithms. I don't know if any one of you is using telematics in your cars, which monitors your driving behavior, right? So especially for the younger ones, they give the incentive. Well, you have adrenaline kicking in very quickly, so they put the device in your car that we will monitor your driving behavior if you drive nicely. And I recommend to all fathers, when you give a car to your son, make sure it has got that device, because it will tell you whether he was adhering to the speed limit. When he was at the traffic light, did he go like this or no? Did he pick up, when he was slamming brakes, was it like this or no? It was gentle slamming of pressing of brakes. Likewise, when he's doing the roundabout, was it like this? The screeching sound. All of this gets recorded. Whether he was using phone as well while he was driving. So I encourage all of you. And on the basis of that score, we determine the riskiness of that individual. And as a result, the term which you call as the premium or the cost of insurance gets determined. However, all of this is processing that data and then mapping it to the actual experience. So these types of individuals who adhere to the laws, who are not playing with their mobile phones while they are driving, they are not slamming the brakes, rather pressing it gently. What is the accident ratio for them compared to those who are doing exactly these types of things? So a lot of processing of any sort of data. So responding to your precise question, I do not see them limited to insurance or banking, any field. And I'm seeing the future 10, 20 years down the line because of data science and actuaries and data scientists marrying together, bringing their efforts together. There's so much potential for actuaries to go into other lines of business.
I have a question because of the students who are here. So you mentioned off the path, you need to do graduation, isn't it? Yeah?
That's right.
So my question is it must to have graduation? Number one. Number two is, can a person opt without graduation, like ACCA people can do it?
Yeah.
And the second part of question, the future of actuaries. As you rightly mentioned, the data scientists and things, yeah? Because AI, ML, all these things are coming up. So do you think, the data scientists will take over actuaries, because more like AI, gonna take over?
So responding to the first question, is it necessary to have graduation for the Institute of Actuary, the UK body? Yes, but for the American body, you don't need. However, because you're based in the UK, I would advise you to use the...
I meant, doing the graduation, undergraduate degree. If you need, or you can, after A-levels, you can directly jump into the 18 modules or 16 modules.
No, in the UK, the UK body requires you to do so, as far as I understand. American body does not require you to do so. However, if you're planning to practice in the UK, I would highly encourage you to take the UK route. Why? It's not to delay your qualification, but doing the actuarial science degree prepares you for that path. And because you have the students and the professors of the same expertise, your base is being built before you start taking your exams. Also, if you are taking, for instance, I know Imperial College, Oxford, Cambridge, if you have taken the actual science degree and depending upon your scores, you may get exemption out of those 15 exams. You may get exemption from 5, 6, 7. I know one of my juniors, out of 15, he got exemption from 9. So he qualified within 3.5 years. That's the fastest that I've seen after graduation. He qualified within 3.5 years. But I've seen cases who qualified within 10 years, 15 years as well. But of course, that becomes quite challenging. So if you are determined, if you have got, if you can, hopefully the numbers I've quoted, they are decent enough. I know that other professions are also lucrative enough, but it's a decent field.
Second part is that was?
Sorry, second part was about
The future.
about the future of actually. Yes. So this is the question that we ask ourselves, and in the conference that we just had, the question got raised, not this time, but it is being raised for the last, I would say, 3 to 4 years now, because I have myself worked with data scientists. I know and I highly appreciate their skills. I work on a particular project. We worked with them at amazing speed at which they were able to process the data. However, we had the capability to interpret that data and to make the sense out of that data. So they have their skills, we have our skills. So we do not see this being taken over by them. They will have their own value, we will have our own value, and working together will be the best combination.
My question is regarding degree apprenticeship. Nowadays it's getting very famous. So is there any company who is offering degree apprenticeship in Actuary?
So the exams are quite expensive. So what happens is that once you have graduated in actuarial science, you join one of the firms. Big Four. Are people familiar with Big Four?
Yeah.
So EY, Deloitte, PwC, KPMG. They are called Big Four. So these are the biggest for accounting and auditing firms. Every year they have an intake of actuarial graduates. And they say, well, you have to pass these exams in this period, then we will retain you. Otherwise, we will kick you out. So there is already a pressure. But because the students which have entered the profession, they're, as I mentioned, generally in the upper tier of the academia, they generally perform very well. So they bear your exam fee. So these companies bear your exam fee, and while you're working for them, as I mentioned, that you become an actuary while working. It's not that you are sitting at home.
It's like the student can't start from degree apprenticeship. First he has to do the degree apprenticeship in any field in this Big Four or any company, and then they can take.
So degree you do at the uni. So you do Imperial or UCL or Oxford or Cambridge and many other unis. Once you have done the degree in actuarial science or mathematics or stats as well, you join one of these firms. These support the cost of your exams. Yes, study material as well as the exam fee. And as you pass those exams, they promote you. Once, for instance, my firm had once you have qualified, you become manager. You start from a trainee, you become an analyst, you become assistant manager, and then you become manager. And from there onwards, it's all about on your own skill capabilities. You become senior manager, director, and partner of the firm. So yes, support comes from the employer. Wherever you go, the support for your studies comes from your employer because you're working for them as well. But under the strict conditions because they're investing in you. The exams are expensive.
So, what's the best way? Is it take the degree from uni or take the apprenticeship degree program from these finance firms?
Yeah.
And then because you are already there,
Yeah.
and then you
So there is only one way. There is only one way. There are some exceptions, but let's talk about the normal path. There is only one normal path. Normal path is that you do your university degree and then join one of these firms or an insurance company, for instance, or the Bank of England, for instance. I know Bank of England recruits as well. We in Saudi recruit as well. So that is the normal path, that you do your uni and then you start taking your exams by joining one of these firms.
Recently, I think that for a few years, the firms have been doing this, that they have started taking school leavers and they get them to do the chartered accountancy, for example, without doing the undergraduate degree.
Yeah.
They support them, I think, in their undergraduation as well. I don't know whether they...
Yeah, so that's what I alluded to when I said that there are offshoots, but that's not the normal path.
No.
Yeah. Because this field is not for somebody who is dragging himself. It is for somebody who wants to be a high achiever, and it is very much doable. Really. I was just an average person. Salim bhai always says nice word, but I was a very an average student. Anybody can do it as long as you have the determination, as long as you are willing to sacrifice your life outside your work and the what we call as the life of a young person these days, without going into the details. So if you're willing to sacrifice, there's a lot of reward. If you're starting is 90 grand,
Yeah.
so at 28, 29, hopefully the future should be good for you.
So I've got two questions. One is you mentioned there are like 15 modules. Is it like any limit of exams or any like time frame you to like qualify in certain time period?
Nah, it's up to you, really up to you.
That's good. And second one, as you said, like it's like a lucrative pay. How is like a work and family life balance when you're working as a professional?
So, actual profession is because it's a high performance. You cannot perform highly if you're working crazy hours. Yeah, you're not a laborer because it's all about using your brain. There's a lot of emphasis on work-life balance. For instance, in the conference, if those of you who know Ruby Wax from BBC, she was there to talk about mental health. So there's a lot of emphasis on mental health and striking the right balance. Yes, because critical decisions hinge on the work that we do. Yes, it does happen. So my days at KPMG here, it wasn't very uncommon for me to come at 10, 11 as well. But that wasn't always the case. I used to do it because I liked it. I could have finished at 5 or 6 as well. So there is an emphasis on work-life, but also depends upon where you are working. If you're working at a consultancy, your hours are long. I expect it to be longer. But if you're working at an institution, an insurance company or a bank, you are most likely to do work from 9 to 5.
My question is related to the exam as well. So the background is I'm working in insurance. So I started my career as a QA and then moved as a project manager. So since last couple of years working as a project manager and last couple of months in an insurance company and working with the data teams for top 4 you mentioned. And normally they talk about like the actuarial side of the data. So what is the advice from where I can start? Like I don't have the time to go for 15 years like kind of like span, but the basics so that it can help others as well for me. Like because when I talk with somebody, then I have that kind of talking level, or you can say that.
That's quite encouraging. That's an encouraging start. If you feel like you're not mesmerized by what they are saying, rather you are comprehending what they are saying, then I would encourage you to look at the first couple of exams, study material of that, and even attempt first exam and see how things go. Because looking from a distance compared to getting your hands dirty, very different things. So give it a shot. Don't delay it, I would say, because 15 exams, whether they will take you 3 years or 5 years or 4, 7, it all depends upon you. So you take the first exam, assess whether you can sacrifice this much. If yes, go for it. Go for the kill and pass your exam, because yes, it will open lots of doors of opportunity. Given that you are in the profession, I know you would understand what I mean here by looking at the actuaries in your company.
So what do people get when they start as a trainee? After
90.
No, that's for the qualified. Well, then everybody will start as a trainee.
और peak भी बता दीजिए. Top maximum 1 million, 2 million a year.
मेरी सैलरी तो guess नहीं कर रहा. No, my partner की, I can talk about the partners
at
of
the top level.
As a top level. I think it's in UK gross can easily reach $1 million. $1 million a year gross, yeah. With bonuses. The partners के साथ तो ये है. Partners के साथ तो bonus असल part होता है. Salary तो उनकी बहुत थोड़ी सी होती है. Yeah, exactly. So.
And apprentices under those beginners, like when they're not qualified yet?
think they start with 30 to 40 grand. 30 to 40 grand, yeah. 30 to.
Say if I was to do like a degree apprenticeship like PwC for data science, would I be able to go into that field after the data science degree?
So it's all about how much energy you burn when doing your data science field. So what do you plan to do? Do you want to do your degree in data science, or do you want to do your apprenticeship in data science?
There's like a degree apprenticeship program with PwC.
Right.
Data science free merit. So would that be enough to do like that course? Would that be exempted from the exam?
I wouldn't be able to give a precise, and you will have to figure that out. I can talk from the technical perspective. That will give you an edge in starting your actuarial science degree, or entering the actuarial science profession. You will have to figure out precisely whether that will allow you to enter allow you to take actual exams. But doing data science, because I have myself done a certificate in data science, it will give you a head start in the actual profession.
What are the statistics what you have predicted 10 years ago, for example,
Yeah.
and when the audit has been done on you, how confident your model was?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
was
So when we predict something, we always come up with the best estimate, and then we talk about the distribution around it or the likely variance. The chances of a very wide variance, these are low. We assign a probability to it. Yeah, and those of you who remember the snowfall in 2009 in the UK, when the entire tube system had collapsed. Immediately, it was marked as 1 in a 32-year event. So what is 1 in a 30? It's a probability that anything like this happens once in every 32 years. This is how we do it. For instance, we calculate the capital requirements. I gave the example of COVID, the pandemic. We were already doing it. Test is that as a result of COVID, none of the companies became bankrupt in the UK, for instance, because we were already predicting, we were already projecting for a pandemic to hit, and as far as I recall, the impact has been less than what we were allowing for. So this is driven by the regulatory requirement as well. Those of you who have heard of Solvency II or the current regulatory requirement, which says that you have to make provision so that an insurance company can go bankrupt or down the drains once in every 200 years. So we are essentially projecting right now for things to go down once in every 200 years. Of course, the question is, who has seen 200? But none of us lives. But it is all mathematics based on the models that we do. Responding to a precise question, okay, what if we get things wrong? Yeah. So, of course, we are also conscious of that. Only Allah knows the future. We are using science to predict based on the historical trends, but also anticipating what might change compared to that has happened in the past. What we say is the past is not representative of the future. We review every year or every quarter, depending upon what we are reviewing, and fix our model. As a result, there is a good faith in the accuracy of our model, but we never claim that we know the future. We are projecting based on the best available knowledge and best available expertise.
So what is the difference? What is the difference between your projection and your assumption, and what is the difference between one who is saying that इसका इल्म देते हैं क्या फ्यूचर में क्या होगा? सही है?
Nujum, that's a question for me. Don't worry, I will respond to that. That's
Palmistry type of thing, yeah.
Sorry.
So,
You want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to say, well, because it's based on science. What we are saying is that we are looking at the historical data and then projecting it into the future, but making allowance for future changes.
No,
that's perfectly fine.
It's just a question I wanted to respond anyway, even if you didn't ask. So the Nujum, so the very pertinent question is with regards to religious background. As a Muslim, are we doing, palmistry? Are we just predicting future, is that allowed or not allowed? It's perfectly allowed as long as it is done within the known knowledge. The reason projection of future in Nujum is not allowed is that's based on conjecture, some ideas, some possibly, maybe because the star is going this way, it may be that. Because the wind is blowing this way, it might be this. That's all fluke. That's not allowed. You can't do that. And then they make it a must. That's exactly what happened based on this. Because the sun has come between this, it will happen like that. Someone passed away, and they would say, and this is exactly what happened when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his son Ibrahim through Maria Qibtiyya passed away, and there was solar eclipse. And they said, oh, it's because any time a big personality dies, this happened. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam led the prayer and he announced it. He said, not at all. This is sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing happened. And they used to believe that. So here we do not believe any of that. We said this is a prediction. It's like you come to me and I check your, examination, your symptoms, your signs, your reports, investigation, and say, you know what, based on that, I think, God forbid, that person has got cancer and he's going to die in 3 years. Am I predicting future? Or 2 years, or 3 months, or 6 months, even after that? So we tell our patient, by the way, Mr. So-and-so, unfortunately, I have to tell you that if you be surviving next year, I'll be shocked, or I will be surprised. So the statement we say, I'll be surprised if you are alive next year, based on my understanding of the condition that you have as a doctor. So prepare for that, for good or for bad. If they survive, alhamdulillah, that we're even happier than that. Like the patient I just had only 3 days ago. So the family was like, what do we do? We're a bit I said, unfortunately, he's gone too far, he's not going to survive. The doctor, thanks a lot for all what you have done. People have done a lot of stuff. We're quite thankful for that. What do you think? I think we should just withdraw and let him die in peace. I said, okay, shall I inform my family because there's some scattered in the different parts of the UK? So shall we just call them to be here? I said yes, because I don't think they're going to survive too long. I think. So what do you mean? Like, would it be a few hours? I said maximum 2 to 3 hours. So this is me saying it. Am I predicting? No. And he died within an hour actually. The maximum I think would be 3 hours. So this is not a projection. This is not a prediction with certainty in any way. This is based on my experience and knowledge of the field. Because someone who is requiring that much oxygen, I could just know a little bit. There's some sitting there, so saying, oh, I can't tell you at all because it is just going to take either maybe a week or maybe longer. It depends on how much reserves he has physiologically, because he's not dying of lung this time. He's dying of his heart. And heart could be pumping, who would know? Yes, we would know, but it's not going to be more than days though. So not weeks, but days. So sometimes we predict that way. So this is all based on your scientific understanding and that is why, and that's perfectly fine.
You was looking the condition of the person.
So this is exactly what they're doing. This is exactly what they're doing. No, you don't understand. No, like, just clarify that. This is exactly what they're doing. They're looking at the past and projecting it. It's like when you see something, trajectory, it's called trajectory actually. The term we use is trajectory. Something is going down, 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 down. This is what you do in your table tennis, in your badminton. So you have shot from there. Where do I know? Why am I standing there? I'm seeing it's coming that way. That's the trajectory. It's going to go there. If it carried on with the normal trajectory, there it's going to go. This is what I'm doing, standing here.
So it's a bit. So just to give you an example, CAT modelers, catastrophe modelers.
Yeah.
When there is an earthquake in the world, so there was unfortunately in Indonesia, I believe around 200 people died. Everybody says, well, it's a bit catastrophe and we are very sorry. Catastrophe modelers are the happiest people then. Why? Can anybody guess? They get data. They get another data to project with more confidence. Okay, if something like this happens, this is what will happen. As a result, they get more and more data because catastrophe is something, a rarity compared to a motor accident which is happening, and it is much more easier to predict those. So it's all about using data and then using your science to project and predict.
You know, like in your profession, do you like predict economic growth and like, development constantly?
So I would say you can do anything as long as you have acquired that skill. Once you are able to interpret historical data, you are able to project that into the future. Yes, actuaries do get involved in, for instance, in an insurance company, business plan making. So what will happen to the company for 5 years? You extrapolate it and you take it to the national level, and that becomes the economic scenario prediction. Yes, there is a talk in economic scenario generators as well. What happens if the inflation goes like this? What happens if interest rates go like this? Yes, that falls very much within the remit of actuaries as well. So they get that skill. Once you have that core skill, you can apply it to anything like this. So going back to the previous question, are actuaries confined to insurance and banking? No. Once you have that skill, you can go into many other areas.
One question. Do you know about the latest projections about the housing market going down, when it would pick up, and where maximum it would go?
Well, then we need to get the Al Rayyan Bank here. Yeah.
Because you don't work in UK.
Yeah, I'm working for the.
You don't work anymore here. If
So
you were
these,
still on
yeah.
KPMG here,
Yeah.
you would have dragged him to explain to us.
You mentioned that you can do the actuary exam while you're doing your degree, but won't it be better that you first complete your degree and then do actuary, because then you can get the exemption as well?
Yeah, I think that's the general route. So I must give it that what I said there is more for the US route, because they do not precisely require you to have that degree in order to be able to do those exams. Because in Saudi they are generally taking exams of the US body, and that's what they do while they are doing the degree. They start taking exams to shorten their path to qualification. But for the UK, yeah, that's the route that I would see when I would get the students from Cambridge, Oxford, Imperial, UCL, and so on. They would do their degree, and as a result, they would get significant exemption, whatever exemption, and then they will accelerate from there on.
One question. For example, if you are qualifying in US body, can you practice here, or you have to
that's okay.
compliant here, like doctors do have to, no matter they are graduated from worldwide, but they have to do PLAB here. So do you have to come back here and do?
No, you don't have to.
equivalency,
No, it's okay.
You can practice
as long as you're a fellow actuary, fully qualified actuary. Yeah.
The same question.
Okay. Wow, you're reading minds, yeah. Mashallah.
My question relates to young people. When I started my career, so we say, oh, we need to do certain certifications in IT, like CCIE. The starting is 100K.
Yep.
80 to 90K plus it's start. But not go in that projection.
Yeah.
So what we do normally, you need to have an electrical engineering degree for it. But I know my people, or the people we taught, so they reach it, like instead of going for graduation, they just opt for it, hit the target, particularly within 2 years, 3 years, they're done and dusted. They did other certifications, and now if you see, they are really far away. The American approach.
Yeah.
The British, they have this certain thing, but a young, after A levels or stats and math, is there a particular institute like who focus on the certification American style here in UK? And when you see on the larger landscape internationally, which one is more recognized? Yeah, so there's the American way, in our project management or project delivery, there are 3 styles of, Japanese, British, and American. But Americans, when the company comes up, collaborate with the big projects, so they will dominate. They will enforce their framework. So their certifications or their accreditations are more dominating.
Yeah.
So is the case applies to your field as well?
I would, because of my sensitive position, and because we are attracting both the British and the US to the Saudi, we want to give equal opportunity to the Saudi students, and we consciously say that we do not prefer one over the other. We just want to give option to these students. I have seen equally good actuaries from those who have qualified from the US body or the UK body. About accelerating, one thing which is very important, it is not about passing exams only. Why? Otherwise, you could have stayed at home and pass exam. Why go to the office and work from 9 to 5, sometimes 9 to 6, 9 to 7, 9 to 8, 9 to 9, and while you are drained of your energy, and then you are trying to come back home and study. Why do you do that? Because you learn a lot by working under qualified actuaries, by pulling your chair, sitting next to them, and then seeing, okay, I did my work. They ask you to do something. What you did, you thought you had done 100%. But once they start amending it, you realize you had done only 10%. And jumping from that 10% to 100% does not happen overnight. You'll have to go through that training, and Salim Bhai would say the same when he trains these junior doctors. He would not allow somebody to immediately go into and treat a critical patient. That person will have to go through a rigorous training before he has that confidence.
And this is exactly this. This is exactly. There's no criteria. I would definitely know this because this is exactly across board for all the specialties. For example, it doesn't matter whether you're a qualified consultant from America or from UK. It doesn't matter, provided you are from renowned places. So then they would accept you. So for us, for example, some of my friends who've been there, they just said, if you have done your degree from UK or from America, and you have spent 3 years there after being trained and then qualified with experience, you get exactly the same pay. There's no difference between me and some of my friends who are there. So we just go there and then enjoy as a consultant doctors. So it doesn't matter and I know for sure, because some of my colleagues, when we go to Pakistan and have chat and with those, no difference. We would come to the same response, same solution, same treatment, despite going through different ways. Because science is not different. It's not the actuary which is different here and there. It's a method to come to the. It's like someone who's graduated from Leicester Madrasa, or someone from Indian Madrasa, from Deoband, or from from Bareilly Madrasa, from Salafi. Whatever they do, there will be different style and approaches. The knowledge is not going to be different. They've gone through the same hadith. Yes, I may look at that difference. That is the model. But here, so for example, a Dars-e-Nizami, which is a standard course for becoming an alim, to become an alim. So whether you did this from Bangladesh or from UK, you would have the similar level of understanding. Yes, then you start developing. There's a basic degree done. The difference comes from, as Sarwar mentioned, when you start studying under the tutelage of your teacher. So you're just learning and developing your skills over the 5, 10, 15 years, and you become so good. So then you become, wow, whoever you are, that is how much investment you've done with regards to your time, your dedication, your connection. Okay, so it's nothing to do with the degree per se. The degree could be good here and there. Something may be more appealing to some people, and some university may say so for a specific reason, but overall it would exactly be the same. So degree is not on its own is important. Inshallah ta'ala, we leave it there because adhan time, and it was fantastic. I could see that many people wanted to ask you more questions, but no time for that. Don't even put your hand down. No discussion. Inshallah ta'ala, there will be adhan time, and then we'll do inshallah ta'ala the sunnah. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah. Thank you.
MashaAllah. Fantastic.